Hey guys, and welcome back to Castle Crush. And today we're going to be doing some Reaper challenges with the Necromancer. And for this first one, we have Reapers on one side, and then it was supposed to be Black Knights on the other side, but it sort of ends up working out that way. But then one kind of unlucky metamorph manages to throw that off, and the problem was I only really ended up with one. I thought the Reapers would be more important to get down first, so I put them down, but I think I only had one Black Knight in the other deck, so that ends up being the only Black Knight I actually get on that side. It does become pretty huge. I do my best to get a big Reaper on the other side, but as you'll see, just one big Black Knight isn't really enough to hold off what is happening on the other side, especially considering I gave that deck protection as well, which was maybe a little bit too much power for it. But I really thought the Reaper deserved some more videos, because I did one Giant Reaper video and everyone loved that one, but I hadn't really done much of anything with it since then, partly because its health is so low that it's just very difficult. It's a very difficult card to mess around with because it gets destroyed very easily. There was the unlucky metamorph. I ended up getting the Black Knight of all things, and of course that makes the left side fairly overpowered against the right side, and I couldn't really... I had metamorph on the right side, but I don't even think I got a Reaper on the right side, which was funny. Ended up being very unbalanced, but unfortunately that's the chance you take when you put metamorph in these decks, is that stuff like that can end up happening. There's a lot of Necromancers out there too, so this fight, it keeps going. The Black Knight on the right side does end up getting stronger than the one on the left, I think, but it's still almost not really enough, as you can see, because the Black Knight is tanking for the Reapers, and then they're getting in free shots behind it. So that really starts to make a pretty big difference in the DPS. So even though the right side Black Knight was bigger, it still couldn't hold off the... Those are some pretty interesting metamorphs I got. Somehow getting that exact Black Knight like twice, pretty crazy. Anyways, here's another match I decided to do. This one... we have Reapers on one side, and then we're going to have Skull Queen Skeletons on the other side. So this is going to see how well the Reaper's area of effect damage attack can hold up here, and how well it will hold up against the Skull Queen's increased speed and damage. And I did try to make a giant or a larger Reaper on the right side, but I was having trouble because it's just, even the Angel will draw the giant growth over the Reaper, which makes it very hard to actually get the Reaper. So I pretty much have to put it on there like right after it dies. But the more condensed the stack becomes, the harder it is to pick out the Reaper and put the giant growth on it. Because again, either the Angel or the Necromancer will pull the giant growth over a Reaper. So that's pretty tricky. Skull Queen was easy. I was going to do a skeleton, but ended up doing a giant Skull Queen instead. And as you can see, this one was a more interesting matchup. Much more interesting matchup than the other one, I think. Because the Reapers were definitely holding their own pretty good. Although, once I started to get more Skull Queens out there, I do think that started to even it out a bit. I think there is the possibility that the more Skull Queens I would have added, if the match had gone on and on, the more likely it was that the Skull Queen side would have won. Just because the speed of the skeletons probably would have affected things. I think the other thing that was playing in favor of the Reapers was that so many of the skeletons were, every time I used Gust of Wind, the skeletons would end up condensed like that, which meant the Reapers could just hit them all together. Whereas when they were in smaller groups or one by one, it made it easier for them to do damage to the Reapers without all getting eliminated. So, yeah, once I stopped using the gust of wind, I think that also played into the hands of the skeletons. And you can see here the Reapers are starting to lose a little bit. I have 3 Skull Queens out by this point. The Reapers are starting to get pushed back, but can I beat them before the end of overtime? I don't know. They're still holding their own. And still holding them off. Four Skull Queens, and now the game is starting to lag out. So for all intents and purposes here, I'm going to say that the Reapers basically held their own, although they were losing slightly in this matchup. But pretty interesting matchup just to see how the large number of Skull Queens fares against something that is pretty good against skeletons. I think the Necromancer's ranged attack was also helping the skeleton side too, but interesting matchup. So leave a like if you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about this video in the comments and what other types of content I should create. Maybe subscribe if you are new to the channel for more videos like this. And thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for more videos.